We're moving on to our second panelist question. We'll bring Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis.
This is a bit of a follow-up. Everyone who talks about this issue gives us these big picture answers, but it would be nice to sort of narrow it down. Congressman Murphy, you voted for the $700 billion rescue plan. How do you think that's going to come down and affect the several hundred people in this room and their families, and the others who may be watching it on television throughout the district?
Again, this is about what's happening here in Danbury, what's happening in Waterbury. This is about stepping in and trying to avert a crisis like this country has not seen in 70 years. What we were faced with was the failure of the banking system, was a collapse, one that we have not witnessed in several generations. And so the most immediate effect is that we have been able to preserve that system, which feeds the payrolls of small businesses and big businesses. We have been able to keep credit going to both families and to the businesses that employ people here in the Danbury area. And what do we do specifically going forward? This is about recognizing the fact that there's a reason why community banks here in Danbury and throughout Connecticut have survived this crisis, because they didn't engage in the kind of abusive lending and the kind of lax underwriting that the Wall Street firms have engaged in over the last 10 years. So specifically, what do we do going forward? We apply the same underwriting standards that local community banks have used to the entire lending industry. That will fix a lot of this problem going forward, and we'll make sure that we never get into this type of crisis again. But this is about confronting an economic moment like we have not seen in this country in, again, several generations. And my hope is that it's very easy for Senator Cappiello or others to stand from the outside and criticize this bill. We worked incredibly hard to make it a better bill, even as unpalatable as it was for many of us to support this kind of intervention into the economic system. But throughout this campaign, all we've heard from Senator Cappiello on this issue and most every other is criticism. I think this district is looking for more than that. I think this district would like to hear from Senator Cappiello specifically what he would have done in the alternative. He said he wouldn't sit back and do nothing, but we have yet to hear in 2 months since the bill was passed a specific outline of what the alternative would be. I think we'd like to hear that tonight.
Thank you. The first thing I would do if I were in your shoes, Congressman, is give back over the $250,000 you've received from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, JP Morgan Chase, Countrywide, and all the rest of the groups that you oversee on the committee, the Financial Services Committee. That would be the first step to ensure that your vote was pure on this issue. Second, I can tell you that another thing that's happened with this bill is it's piled on approximately $2,300 in debt in one vote on every single American in this country. $2,300 in one vote. Now, our debt has gone from, in the last year and a half, $9.5 trillion after this bill to $11.4 trillion. That means it went from the last 2 years, $31,000 to $37,000 in less than 2 years while you have served in Congress. Now, the first thing I would have done, if I were a member, is to say to the President, hold on, that's a huge bill. I know it's 3 pages long, which is irresponsible, by the way, on the President's part. Irresponsible of a 3-page bill that costs $700 billion. But I don't know how one can say that we worked really hard on this bill when within a week and a half that a 450-page document was created that was voted on such a massive undertaking of such great importance. That never happens. That's a huge bill. $700 billion. I would have taken a step back. I would have looked at eliminating for 2 years the capital gains tax to put more liquidity in the market. I would have had Wall Street look at setting up a system so that it pays into a system that it insures itself so that taxpayers aren't footing the bill that can be backed by the Treasury, like the FDIC. There are a number of things that could have been considered, but this Congress decided, and by the way, it's not just Democrats down there, it was Republicans, it was the President. They decided to rush a bill through without the oversight in place. We all know it. We've read it in the papers. Again, the CEOs are going to get big bonuses. There was no reformation of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. This is a big problem, and there was not enough thought put into the bill.
30-second rebuttal.
This notion that we should just have Wall Street insure itself is a fiction. Now, going forward, a system like the FDIC for investment banks makes sense, but that was not going to salvage our banking system. Cutting the capital gains tax rate for the few individuals who have any gains from capital investments is not going to solve the banking crisis. These are all great sound bites, but this is the real world in which we were about to see an economy collapse around us. And we need a little bit more specificity than those type of broad brush fictional solutions.
Senator Cappiello.
The first thing you could have done, Congressman, is said no. You could have taken a step back and said you're rushing this through. And it isn't fiction. There are people in this audience who do have small nest eggs, minor nest eggs that they've been saving away for years, but they might want to change what their investments are. And because of the capital gains, if you get rid of the capital gains altogether for 2 years, you're giving them the ability to freely move their money around and not be penalized. So you can make a joke about it, because I know you love tax increases, and you have for the last 10 years of service, but you need to start being realistic and helping the middle class.